Welcome into Tapping Vegas, brought to you by Better and Green. And today we're breaking down UFC Fight Night, Israel Adesanya versus Nassourdine Imavov. We're going to give you 5 fights to win some money on. I'm Ben, with me is Bobby. We get all of our odds for this show from DraftKings, and if you guys want to win some free money, and when you sign up with our promo code BetterGreen, you can hit it in the description or on our website, bettergreen.com. I believe you guys place a $5 bet, you get $150. There's a lot of promos going on right now, so make sure you guys do check them out. Bobby, the first of our 5 fights, we're going to break down a heavyweight fight. Definitely not the best fight of the night. Also, once again, this card, the main card, kicks off at 11. So you want to make sure you guys are ready for this. This is not going to be one of your standard evening fights. It's kind of an ugly heavyweight bout. And we have our opinions about these heavyweight bouts. And I have my opinions about both of these guys. So I'm going to let you kick this one off.
Shamil Gaziev versus Thomas Petersen. Wow, what an absolute disgusting fight. We love those disgusting fights, don't we, folks? Yes, we love some sloppy, swing and bang heavyweights with titties flapping and just nipples protruding through shirts, don't we, folks? Incredible.
Disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting and incredible. I'm going to try to keep this short, sweet, to the point. Yeah, anytime you have a UFC heavyweight fight, I don't care who it is. I don't care if they're the most elite level athlete in the entire world, created in a lab on the island of Cuba to some Soviet boxing genetics program from the Cold War, or, you know, the local grocery bagger at the Walmart, Costco, whatever. It's disgusting. It's absolutely atrocious. It's an insanely disgusting division that honestly probably should be put to the guillotine, and I don't mean the submission, I mean the actual guillotine, if you're asking me. But anyway, Shamil Gaziev, not good. Thomas Petersen, not good. Thomas Petersen's riding a high off a very impressive, God, I can't even fake it, victory over Muhammad Usman. It was not impressive. It was more Muhammad, sucking than Petersen being good, I guess you could say. But in any case, hey, props to him, golf clap. Or the old Brett Favre at the whatever award show he got bitched out for. Yeah, Thomas Petersen, that doesn't really move the needle that you beat Muhammad Usman. It's nice, but he's clearly the inferior Usman brother. Shamil Gaziev, very interesting fellow. Had some kind of promise coming in with being from Bahrain and everything. Contender Series contract 2023. Beat Martin Buday, and then, in his very second UFC fight, lost to Jairzinho Rozenstruik to the point where he was considering retiring. Bounced back against Dontel Mays last August, unanimous decision. Now here he is going up against Thomas Petersen. And this is what it boils down to for me with how bad heavyweight is. Anytime somebody in the UFC heavyweight division is such a heavy favorite, if they're not John Jones, I have to ask myself why, and this is what's kind of leading me to just pick Thomas Petersen for no other reason other than I don't know why Thomas Petersen is a plus 280 and Gaziev is such a minus 355. Heavyweight, all it takes is one punch, and if it doesn't, go to one punch like somebody knocking somebody just completely senseless, it's going to be disgusting. You're going to wish you never watched for 15 minutes, and everybody's going to be disappointed. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, though, I'm taking Thomas Petersen money line because, like I said, both of these guys are very unimpressive. None of them have done anything to wow me. Nobody's really moving the needle. Nobody's given me a reason to justify picking, Gaziev at such heavy minus money to where I'm not even making any money back. If you're just dead set on betting on this fight, you got to go with Petersen. I mean, he's also very young in his career, damn near identical to Gaziev. Contender Series, that he lost his debut to Jamal Pogway, unanimous decision, as I mentioned, got the victory over Muhammad Usman this past July, though. I mean, I just don't see enough from either one of these guys. Petersen money line, there's not really anything technical to break down here. There's just nothing that gets me going. What do you think?
I think that you're spot on here. And I think I'm going to be right there with you with the Petersen money line. It could potentially be a knockout. Petersen does have that boxing background. It's just like you're looking at his stats across the board. Like right now, I'm looking at strikes per minute, strike accuracy, strike defense. Everything he does is better than Gaziev, except both of them have 100% takedown defense. Also, not going to say that's because you can't take care of these guys down. That's just because it's heavyweight. And it's more guys just kind of fall on you if you don't go down. You just avoided the takedown. Congratulations. Gaziev, I just don't think he's very good. I definitely don't think he's better than Usman. And once again, that is not saying that I think very highly of Usman. It's just Gaziev is just one of those guys. I think a lot of hype is built into him. Whereas I'm watching tape on both these guys. Neither of them really stand out. There's nothing either of them does great. Give me the guy at the almost 3-1 odds. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a little bit more interesting fights. We're going to break down Said Nurmagomedov versus Vinicius Oliveira. This was a tough one for me. Like, we're going to start getting to a little bit more dangerous waters here. Don't have a ton to say on this fight, so I'm going to throw it to you, Bobby, here pretty quick. But I'm going to go with Said here. Once again, he's got that Nurmagomedov background where he is like with those guys and training with those guys, and I just think where he's at is a good gym, and he's going to be prepared for this fight. Also, not super high on either of these guys, kind of like we were with the last two, but I do think these guys are a little bit of a step up, so I will go with Said, just thinking that the competition he's facing in camp is going to be better than Oliveira's. What do you think?
Yeah, as we were talking about before we started recording with Said, I mean, he's not going to have that kind of like legendary status attached to his title as a Nurmagomedov, like Umar and like Habib, and like Islam's carrying over, Islam Makhachev's carrying. But I mean, he's been around a lot longer than Vinicius, a lot longer track record in his UFC tenure that has been going on now since 2018. He's only lost 2 fights. Had a lot of time off recently. I don't know whether injury or suspension or just not being able to find opponents, whether it was a conscious decision to just take some time off to rest. I believe it's been since 2023 since he last fought. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think Said's just a more well-rounded guy. Like you said, he always has that Dagestani wrestling, grappling background to fall back on if all else fails. He's a decent enough striker. Yeah, Vinicius is coming off that really nice, I believe it was flying knee knockout over Sopaj, but I'm not really necessarily sold on Sopaj yet. I might be eating those words. I'll gladly do it if he turns out to be something. But just as of right now, there's just way too many people coming in, especially from Contender Series on these like 10 grand to show, 10 grand to win, $20,000 contracts, and it's just a meat grinder. It's hard to really, start getting excited about these guys and girls because just as soon as they get some momentum, it's like they get cut or, they start going on a skid or whatever. And it's just hard to kind of get acclimated and used to all this new talent. But I mean, right now, like I said, Said definitely has that veteran experience, the fight overall experience, being in the UFC, knowing what that's like specific to the UFC and the rule set and everything that comes with that. And I mean, yeah, he's been inactive, but I think he still has some more left to show us. Vinicius could definitely be an up and coming guy. It's very young in his career. But I mean, as of right now, I like Said. What do you think? You got like a method or you just want money line?
At minus 162, I think I'm just going money line.
Yeah, let me see what decision is right quick because like decision or sub, if I get like something really good on that, I might take it. Let's see. Said by subs plus 320, Said by decisions plus 180. If you do sub or decision, which, Vegas seems to think is going to happen, you only get a minus 135.
Right.
Screw it. I'll say Said by sub at plus 320.
Okay. All right. Putting the balls on the table a little bit there.
Yeah.
I like it, man. You know what? Let's go back to the heavyweights, man. It's a heavy episode.
Yeah, this one definitely better than Petersen and what's his nuts Gaziev, but yeah, Sergei Pavlovich versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Yeah, this is a decent heavyweight fight, but once again, it is what it is, right? Like I kind of feel like in that last fight with Volkov, it kind of seemed like Pavlovich kind of got, I don't know if fraud check's the right word. I think that's a bit overused right now. Honestly, fraud check is just kind of like so damn generic. But I mean, he definitely showed that he has flaws in his game, right? Because before that, he didn't really have enough time in the octagon to kind of show anything other than wow, this guy has ungodly power and is just putting people's lights out. He was kind of like until he lost to Tom Aspinall, another very similar guy who it's like, damn, we don't really have much to go off of because he's just shutting people's lights off so early.
Right.
It kind of was just like they were very similar until they one of them had to lose, and it ended up being Pavlovich. So I was like, okay, well, he lost to Aspinall, but, no shame there. So how's he going to do if we give him, kind of like a layup, like a Volkov? Let's be honest. They were kind of thinking Volkov was going to be
Right.
that layup. I mean, Volkov himself, even in the lead up, was like, I would spar with this guy and I would wake up and have no memory of what the hell even happened. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't really crazy that Sergei lost to Tom Aspinall, but once he lost to Volkov, it was like, okay, this guy has a lot of experience with Volkov. And, Volkov's definitely had his chin cracked a lot, a la Derek Lewis, and he still couldn't really get it done. And now he's on a 2-fight skid. So I'm definitely concerned about Pavlovich as a result of that. I mean, at least he didn't get brutally knocked out. From my recollection of that fight, it was pretty much Volkov just using his length, since he's just so massive, to just pretty much pick apart Pavlovich, just kind of make him look silly, make him chase him around, that type of thing. So it's concerning. Yeah, it's concerning he can't close the distance and engage with people like that. But, I mean, that is a height and reach advantage that Jairzinho Rozenstruik is just not going to have, right? Like, Volkov is like, what? I think like 6'7", 6'8". Rozenstruik 6'2". I mean, Rozenstruik's 36, which, I mean, hell, for heavyweight, that's a spring chicken at this point. Pavlovich, though, is younger at 32. Not by much. Not really too much of a difference in terms of like wear and tear from fights. As you can probably see on the screen, 15-5 for Rozenstruik, 18-3 for Pavlovich. So to kind of get to the point of all this, I'm still on Pavlovich, and here's the main reason why. Because you're getting Pavlovich at minus 290, which I don't like, especially on a 2-fight skid. I wish somebody was a little bit more asleep at the wheel and giving me some better odds on Pavlovich, but unfortunately it's just not happening. Because you're getting Rozenstruik at plus 235, Pavlovich at minus 290. I don't know if you're going to be able to salvage anything. Yeah, like Pavlovich KO, TKO is minus 225. If it goes to a decision, plus 1,000, maybe, but I doubt it. I'm on Pavlovich, and here's the main reason why. Let me just explain it. So Rozenstruik is like alkylated as this kickboxer who just has so much experience and blah, 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 blah. But he just got absolutely windmill punched into oblivion by Francis Ngannou, and all that expertise and knowledge just went out the window, and he crumbled against a notoriously heavy hitter. If he's nothing else, what is Sergei Pavlovich if not a notoriously heavy hitter? I could see a situation very similar to that Francis Ngannou fight where, Rozenstruik kind of freezes up. He gets charged. Just like Francis charged him, Sergei charges in very similar wild Oonga Boonga Donkey Kong punch ways. Charges him. Pretty much picture perfect to the Ngannou fight. Freezes. When he finally does decide to move, he just backs up straight in a straight line. Gets pushed up against the fence, has nowhere to go because he can't move left or right like a kangaroo, and he just gets his lights shut off relatively early in like the first or second round. That's pretty much what I think. I think this is a nice rebound fight for Pavlovich, a nice ranked guy with a little bit of a name, a little bit of a streak coming into this for him to try to rebuild himself back up. Since I'm not getting good odds on KO, TKO, and if I think that it goes to decision, I think it goes to Rozenstruik, not Pavlovich, even though you can get Pavlovich decision at plus 1,000. It's not going to go to him if it goes to decision. If it goes to decision, abandon ship, alarms are going off. Yes. I'll go Pavlovich money line. What do you think?
I think this is the Nuck If You Buck fight of the night.
Okay. All right. You think this might last a little bit, maybe?
I don't know how long it'll last, but I know they're going to be throwing. Yeah. I know for a fact they're going to be throwing. And I want to talk about something that I was reading about this week. It's called the Ape Index. And if you think I'm about to start talking about Rozenstruik, you're a damn racist. I just want to throw that out there. I'm talking Pavlovich. This has to do with your arm length. And you were talking about it, man. It's hard to get pieced up when I believe he's got 6 inches extra reach, like 84-inch reach, which is insane. I think the person that he's most compared to, and I've seen him compared to on Twitter, or X as it's now called, as White Ngannou.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I have heard
Because
that.
it's the build. It's the
Yeah.
build, and that's exactly what you were saying. So everything, if you're looking from just a scientific build, they're the same dude, man. And I don't have to worry about Pavlovich's gas tank if he's coming out there swinging and Rozenstruik's backing up, and this is over on the first.
Okay. Yeah.
Pavlovich knockout. Pavlovich
All
KO.
right.
That's the pick.
Hey, I don't hate it. It just sucks we couldn't get better odds based off those past two skids right now.
I know. I know. I really wish that we could have, but we might not be able to catch them at the wheel, sleeping at the wheel for this one, but I think we will for the next one. Bobby, that is because we're talking Shara Putin, Shara Bullet, Shara Magomedov versus MVP Michael Page. Page is the underdog right now, plus 150, and I just have such a good feeling about MVP. And you know I'm not an MVP guy. This is my thought process behind it. Kevin Holland, we're not going to say he's a scrub, right? Like, he's decent.
I mean, I think he's decent. I'm not reactionary crybaby though either. I mean, I definitely question whether his heart's still in the game, whether he's just doing it because he's been very active and definitely probably gets some preferential treatment from the brass and from the UFC for always accepting fights and being a very entertaining guy who's accrued quite a bit of bonuses. But yeah.
That fight that MVP and Kevin Holland had, do you just remember how just annoyed he was getting and how upset he was?
Oh, 100%. It was not exciting at all. That's the
No,
story of every MVP fight, though. You have such high hopes just to get let down.
no. And let me ask you this question, okay? If I take, let's say, a burlap bag and I put it over your head and then I instantly start fighting you, it doesn't really matter. Like, you have to keep the bag on your head. Like, what do you think your chances of winning are?
Of winning a fight?
Yeah, like I attack you, but you have a bag over your head, you can't take it off.
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't really think that I would have a very good chance.
I mean, that's what most people should say, right? Because how can you hit something you can't see?
I don't know.
And
It's getting kind of kinky, though.
that, yeah, I got that bag. I'm coming for you later. But that's Shara, blind in one eye, man. And MVP has that length and range to circle and play to that side. And I think that can drive Shara Bullet insane. You can't hit something that you can't see. Kevin Holland could see him, but couldn't reach him with the range. Now you're going to get Michael Venom Page with a 6-inch reach. If he has a good game plan, circling to that side, especially like in wrestling, if you do face, because they do have like wrestling schools for the blind, and if you have to wrestle them, which people that don't, like a lot of people don't know this, but if you wrestle a blind person, you have to have one hand on them at all times. You can't ever take your hand off because they always have to know where you are in proximity. Because I can just, if they're blind, I can take my hands off, run across the mat, and then when you start turning around trying to find me, sprint at your legs, double leg, take you to the ground. But obviously, that's kind of cheating, right? Because they
Right.
can't see. So right here, man, MVP has such a clear chance to win. I think a lot of people are going to think Shara Bullet in Saudi, I believe is where this fight is at. They
Yeah.
think they just see his name and he's been what, minus 300, minus 700, minus 1,000, huge favorites. And now you're saying, oh man, now we're really getting him at a good price. I just really feel that this is, you get MVP at the plus money. I feel like that is such a smart bet.
This is probably the most difficult fight on the whole card for me because, I mean, you're right. That's a big factor, him being blind in that eye. Apparently, according to him, and thus far, I haven't really seen much indication that depth perception and all that on that side really bothers him. So I don't know how that works and how, what his vision is like, since obviously I can't really see through his eyes. But I mean, that's a concern. But my bigger concerns would be there's things to like. The main thing to like is that this is going to be a striking fight. Both guys are
Right.
going to want it to be striking. But my main concern is that Shara just likes to kick and kick and kick. But if MVP gets into a situation where MVP tries to control the distance, which he loves to do, He loves to always be the guy pressuring you up against the cage. Once he gets you trapped against the cage, he can do like the flying knee type thing like he did to Evangelista Santos, like he did to the literal trash man who was like brought in for one fight in Bellator. That's another thing. Like, we're not seeing prime MVP. This is another classic example, like the Michael Chandler, like the Ben Askren, like other guys that have been brought over from other promotions that we're not getting them in their prime. And I was really excited when he first came in. I was really excited for his debut against Kevin Holland, and it just fell flat. And I was really excited for the Ian Gary fight, and I even picked him against Ian Gary, and it just fell flat. And it just always falls flat. Like, I have such high expectations for MVP, and I just end up they're stinkers. Let's just be honest. They're just legitimately not good fights. He did beat Holland, but he did lose to Gary. Mm-hmm. I mean, he definitely has a way to win. Like you said, one key, circle to the blind side of Shara. Take advantage of Shara's poor boxing and not be afraid to close the distance. The problem is, I mean, when Shara is known for a very strong, dominant, dexterous kicking game, he's going to know that MVP wants to close the distance. So is he going to be a little skittish because he knows he's going up against not Evangelista Santos, like a 40-something guy who needs to retire, who's not going to be panicking up against the fence, not like, a library, like a dude working at a library. Like, I'm not joking. This is the caliber of guys that Bellator had him going up against. Like, you know what I mean? Is he going to have that confidence to execute that game plan? Or is he going to kind of like coast like he did against Kevin Holland? Because there were a lot of times where he definitely could have put a foot to pedal and kind of, tried to do something a little bit more entertaining other than just showboating against Kevin Holland, because Holland had no answers and he just didn't, and that was with Holland, who was very almost gun shy, unsure of himself, hesitant, uncharacteristically kind of skittish and just frustrated, like you said. So it's a very tough fight. It's probably the toughest fight for me to predict on this whole card, because it makes you wonder, like, Ian Gary kind of had to start clinching against MVP. He kind of turned into, I mean, he always clinches, right? So I don't know why people were surprised about that, but he definitely made that like a core game plan against MVP. Like, are we going to see that from Shara? Because the limited instances of his grappling in the UFC we've seen have been very troublesome and very concerning. Right. And MVP's not a guy known for his grappling, so that's kind of the big X factor. If one of them tries to grapple, is it going to kind of look like when Adesanya and Pereira grappled a few times? That's just kind of weird and clumsy and just bizarre, and just kind of one guy ends up on top of the other, doesn't really know what to do. They stand up and maybe do it again. Like, it's a very tough fight. It's a very tough fight. I definitely don't think Shara should be this big of a favorite. But, I mean, I honestly, all things considered, just feel like MVP is kind of a trap, even at plus 160. I just feel like he's the bigger name. Like, I know Shara is starting to kind of get a little bit of buzz and everything, but for the average casual viewer, you're not going to know Shara Magomedov. You might be a little bit enticed by the name and, that he's from that region of the world as the Hamzats and the Habibs and all that, but you're going to know Michael Venom Page for damn sure. And plus 160 for MVP money line, Shara minus 210 money line. It's just tough, because I don't think he'll get a KO TKO, but I mean, you get a decent odd at decision at plus 130 if there's like a double method. I mean, 66% of the money's coming in on Shara, though, according to DraftKings. 34% of bets placed are on Michael Page. A little surprised about that. Like I said, I thought MVP would kind of be the name. But if you're betting, at least, you definitely are thinking Shara is going to win from a better standpoint. KO, TKO, or decision, though, for Shara. That seems to be what Vegas is thinking, because you're only getting minus 170 on that.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they think it's going to be KO, TKO, or decision. So, I mean,
I get decision, but I'm surprised that a Shara KO is still so high. Minus 170.
Yeah. So, I mean, the best bet you could do is like basically like a Shara money line, but then you take KO, TKO, DQ, and then under 2.5, you get plus 310. I just don't think I just don't think he's going to get the KO, TKO under. I don't think he's going to get it, period, is the problem. I failed to see it. I failed to see it, especially in a 3-round fight. Usually he's that guy who gets it through accumulation. He's not a one-punch knockout guy.
Right.
Volume, that's how he got it against Trockley, which we did call. We had some nice little plays related to that we hit on for that Trockley fight, but I don't know. I think I'll just take Shara money line, especially if it does go to decision. Since they're in Saudi Arabia, they're definitely going to cook up the books for Shara for sure.
I remember us watching his last fight on my phone while we were blasting out guns in the backyard. You remember that? I think it was that back in November. The spinning back fist on was it Petrosian?
The spinning back fist one was against. Let me see right quick. Maybe that was Petrosian.
I thought it was against Armin.
It might have been. Let me double check. But yeah, it's just. Yeah, it was against Petrosian. It was October against Petrosian. Yeah, the spinning back fist. And then, like I said, we hit on the Trockley back June last year with some good props on that. Olajaychuk. Like, Olajaychuk went to decision with him. And Olajaychuk's not a durable guy. So it really is just kind of random, I guess, when he decides he wants to turn it on and off, Like, So.
Man, let's go to the fight of the night. Can Israel Adesanya, can he get back to his winning ways, Bobby?
Yeah, Israel Adesanya versus Nassourdine Imavov. I definitely think that this is an asleep at the wheel one for sure based off of what I'm seeing. I mean, right now, Israel Adesanya, I get he's like 4-4 since 2020 or whatever statistic I've seen. Like, it was like, oh, Israel Adesanya pre-pandemic was like a monster. And it's like, he's still good. He's just faced really good competition in turn. Like, it's the nature of the game. People forget he's been around a while now. He's been a title holder. Like, he's had a pretty decent career
because he's only faced title holders, right? He's only like lately, like his losses are what? Strickland, Pereira, and Duplessis.
Yeah, Strickland, Pereira, DDP. Like, the man's lost to like the top of the division at this point. So, and I say that as somebody who does not like Israel Adesanya. I really am just not an Israel Adesanya guy. He has a lot to offer. Don't get me wrong. Jan Blachowicz is the other loss. So that's the 4 and the 4-4 since, after the pandemic. Lost to Blachowicz when he moved up to 205. Lost to Pereira. Lost to Strickland. Lost to DDP. So, I mean, I don't think that he's completely washed. It's just this is a guy who's fought the upper echelons of competition and who has been, in the UFC since February of 2018. That's a pretty lengthy career, and he's achieved the pinnacle of the sport by being a world champion in his division. And like you mentioned, he's only lost a champion since then. Like, Blachowicz was the 205 champion at the time. Like, Pereira champion, DDP champion, like Strickland champion. Like, these guys are all top guys, and no shame in losing to them. And especially, like I said, I'm not a fan of Adesanya, but I can respect his skill. I like studying him from a striking standpoint. He's one of the best strikers to ever be in MMA, and I don't say that as hyperbole. He legitimately is. And for me to say that is pretty high praise because I just genuinely don't like the guy. I can't say it enough how much I just don't like his personality and find him honestly kind of cringy. But there's no denying the skill set, right? You got to be honest with yourself. There's no denying the accolades, the kickboxing career, the striking. It's beautiful to watch, on the come up. There's a lot to learn. Like, things that he was doing, I was mimicking and sparring, trying to learn from, watching breakdowns, writing my own breakdowns about his striking. I honestly can't gush enough about how talented the guy is. And for people to think that Nassourdine Imavov is just going to come in here and just be able to just take this man and just destroy him in a 5-round main event fight, and primarily what I anticipate to be a striking match, because that's what Nassourdine wants to do, is he wants to strike. He wants to stand. That's how he most commonly wins his fights, right? TKO Jared Cannonier, pieced up Viddyoze, picked apart Brendan Allen, 3-fight win streak. He's only ever lost to Sean Strickland himself, lost a bit of a controversial decision to Phil Halls back February 2021. But I mean, other than Strickland and Halls, those are his only blemishes, right? Ian Heinisch, that was a guy I was very high on, finished him with a TKO, knee and punches, TKO'd Shabazian, picked apart Joaquin Buckley, had a no contest with Chris Curtis because they headbutted each other. I mean, guys fought some good competition and everything, but he's just nowhere near Israel Adesanya's level. He's just not fought the caliber that Adesanya has. There's not a huge age difference between the two. Adesanya is older than I thought. He's 35. Imavov's 29, but it's not huge. Adesanya hasn't taken much damage in the UFC. He's usually the one dishing out the damage. 24-4. I mean, I just really think Israel Adesanya has a very nice bounce back fight, and especially when I'm getting Israel Adesanya at a -162 and Imavov at a +136. Come on now. If we're talking about odds and, how is Gaziev like such a heavy favorite? Like, how is Israel Adesanya not a -300 at least? Come on. Unless he's just absolutely shot. Unless he's just absolutely mentally broken, ruined, like some catastrophic injury he's had that he's just been keeping, away from the public. Like, how does he not over 5 rounds just pick apart and destroy Imavov? I just really, domination. Like, I don't often feel in fights we cover that it's going to be way more one-sided than people think. I really think this is going to be a very one-sided fight. I think it's going to be so insanely one-sided, and people are going to swing right back from one extreme of the spectrum to the other, and they're going to go from, oh my God, Adesanya's washed, he's done, to he's going to win the title again next week. And it's like, how about a healthy middle ground? How about a realistic approach to this? So, I mean, like, hell, you're even like just straight up Israel Adesanya money line -162. I really like Israel Adesanya straight KO TKO at +330. So you're getting a hell of an odd on that. I might even come back to this for a haymaker because I'm really liking this kind of like 3-leg that I see here on DraftKings. But for now, I'm going to at least say Israel Adesanya just outright KO TKO at +330.
Bobby, are you picking somebody that jerks off to cartoons to win?
Oh, whoa, Sean. Whoa.
Hey, we just saw, what's his name? Bryce Mitchell's podcast today. So Sean Strickland is no longer the worst person in the UFC.
Yeah, apparently it's a guy who says he wants to go fishing with a guy I can't say on YouTube.
Very well put, Bobby. Thank you for saying it that way. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't get this, which once again makes me feel like it's a trap. But how can you not pick him? I mean, Adesanya's not coming back to fight and lose this fight. I mean, nobody comes in to lose, but Adesanya is just, you said it, he's just on another level. I love Imavov. I actually am a pretty big Imavov fan. Him and Brendan Allen are kind of like the guys that I really like, but I just feel like they are on the tier below. Like, they're great. They are some of the best in the world, and maybe they go to PFL, they're world champions. But I just feel like in the UFC, these are like top 6 guys, right? Isn't that kind of like fair to say? Like, these dudes are definitely ranked and among the top. I don't want to call them gatekeepers yet because I still feel like they're too young, but these just feel like guys that you have to beat them to get the title shots. But I don't think they beat the guys that deserve the title shots. I think they're going to lose those.
Yeah.
I just think Adesanya, like you said, his striking is too good. He's going to overwhelm Imavov. And why I picked DDP versus Adesanya is because Adesanya's just he's such a good striker. He's so well polished that Imavov is not the dude to get down and dirty, mix things up, take him to the ground. He's just not that guy. Like, he can do it. I just don't see him doing it to Adesanya. I feel like I can't say it enough. I feel like exactly how you feel. I think he's going to piece up Imavov. I'm not going to take a method since I can get Adesanya at -166, which seems like crazy value. So I'm just going to take that at the money line and be overjoyed by it. But, and I really like Imavov. It just makes me sad. I don't think he gets this one done.
Yeah, and even if he does try to grapple, I mean, Adesanya has a great takedown defense and a great ability to get up to his feet, especially against other strikers who are just kind of using it as like a desperation measure. I mean, Brunson was desperate to take him down, and Brunson was known as more of a wrestler, and he couldn't do it against Adesanya. The reason why DDP was able to do it was because he already had Adesanya hurt, wobbled up against the fence, and took advantage of a very advantageous and favorable turn of events that kind of allowed him to get that sub over Adesanya. But as far as the haymaker, which if you don't know, that is our bonus big play that we give out at the end of every episode for you to have a chance to really get some big bucks in your account. I mean, I'm really liking this Israel Adesanya to win, method KO, TKO, and over 3.5 total rounds. Because, once again, he is a sniper, but he's definitely also kind of like a volume guy. And Imavov's tough, especially being in Saudi Arabia. He's going to be just good enough to probably not get caught by, like a one-punch flash type thing. I think he can definitely make it over 3.5, but he's going to get finished. It will be an accumulation of volume and just getting sniped.
I like that.
And if that hits, if all three of those hit, wins, KO, TKO, and it's over 3.5, that's a plus 1,100 payout. And I feel like all those are very, very attainable, very, very likely outcomes. Like none of this is really like striking me as I don't see that happening. No, I could see over 3.5 also. Like he starts to fade, Imavov does, makes a careless mistake. Maybe he shoots for a takedown. Maybe he does something reckless, gets kneed in the face. Uppercut. I just see him just being gassed, just battered, desperate, and then volume takes over, and Adesanya has like a flurry, TKOs him.
I like it, man. I like it. And Bobby, where did you get those odds from?
DraftKings. All this is courtesy of DraftKings. Yeah, I got that from looking at the different methods, and I was like, the last style bender, Izzy has won 5 fights by knockout, back the 8-time champ to win, and they gave me that, and I was like, you know what, I like that a lot. I like that quite a bit.
Absolutely. And if you don't have a DraftKings account, you guys can open one right now, get a bunch of bonus cash. All you got to do is check the link in our description or head to our website, bettergreen.com. I will have a DFS article coming out on Friday, so the day this video is coming out. So make sure you guys tune in, read that. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps us out. Like the video. Leave us a comment. Who do you guys think is going to win these 5 fights? We'd like to know your guys' official predictions before the fights. Which 5 fighters do you guys think will win? Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace, guys.
Peace.